I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will be skipping the Pledge of Allegiance. That went over well last time. So, Alan Silly.
Present.
Kathleen's here.
Kathleen DeWolf. Fran Newton.
Here.
Jamie Leifert.
Here.
And Eli Badger is here. Next up is approval of minutes from 3:30.
I have a couple of corrections.
Okay,
On page 3 of 3, where it says item Roman numeral 4, item B, Selectman Newton encouraged with a D, the board. And I didn't encourage to have more phone. I really wanted all phone and video conference meetings until we get through the COVID-19. That's what I really was looking for. Encouraging all of these meetings to be by phone or video conference.
So what do you want it changed to?
Encourage the board, encouraged, with past tense, the board to have phone and video conference meetings. Just take out the more.
anybody else have corrections?
Soft jazz.
That's the phone conference number in case anyone wants to call in.
I couldn't even connect there. I don't know. It's in my house. I'll make the motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion about this?
Yeah, I didn't see what was amended.
Right here, right here.
What was it?
Page 3.
Line 30,
Take out more.
take out more. Okay, I'm good to go.
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Silly,
Aye.
Ms. DeWolf,
Aye.
Ms. Newton,
Aye.
Mr. Leifert,
Aye.
Mr. Badger says aye. New business. We have the appointment interviews for 2 positions, one 1-year and one 2-year. We have 4 applicants. We have Rick Perret. We have Susan McLeod. We have Lisa Rollins. And has Mr. Ogden joined us yet?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I'm going to ask is that you candidates identify which position that you're voting for. You are asking to be put. One is the 1-year, and we have a 2-year. So, in your statement, please address that. Who would like to go first?
This is Susan McLeod. I was interested in the 1-year term.
Okay. Rick?
Be interested in the 1-year term also.
Okay. Lisa?
I have no preference, Eli, 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. 1, 2, I don't know.
Since we have 2 for 1 year, why don't you go for the 2-year, Lisa?
Okay, sounds good to me.
Did Dick say anything in his application, which position he wanted? No, okay.
Well, since we have candidates for the 1 year, would like to hear from them. Um, I always go with ladies first. Susan McLeod.
All right, well, do you have any questions from the application that I sent in?
I want to thank you for your very thorough application. A lot of information there.
On the application, there were 3 questions that we asked. One was, I would like to improve the following. The greatest personal attribute I can bring to the appointment is, and I would like to be appointed because I'm partial to using this time right this minute for you to explain that to the public in general through this medium.
Okay, well, I think what it distills down to too is I feel that I have a level of professionalism in every approach to every position and job I've ever had. I don't put things in personal terms as to who I'm dealing with. I deal with the situation at hand. And I think most people who have worked with me know that that is how I operate. I'm also very thorough, detailed, oriented, have a fairly good memory, institutional memory, and you all know that I'm also a researcher and dig into anything as far as looking for facts and information to make any informed decision. I guess I'd like this position because I really feel that in the past there hasn't really been the transparency how this board operates, and I also feel that it really needs in this small town to really work well together with the library trustees, the friends of the library, the staff, and the selectmen in particular to deal with all the issues that are obviously happening with money that is necessary to sustain the Scribner building.
Okay, open it up for the rest of the board to ask a question. Mr. Silly?
Susan, how do you feel about taking a stipend?
As a volunteer, I don't think that I would want to. I don't think it's necessary for the level of work that I would, I don't think that I've ever taken a stipend for any kind of volunteer position that I've ever done.
Thank you.
Mr. Silly, do you have a question?
I have no questions, but I wanted to say thank you for your application, Susan.
Mr. Wolf?
Yeah, I'm looking for 3 things from all candidates: cooperation, communication, and compliance. By compliance, I mean compliance with RSA 91A, which leads to Susan's comment about transparency. We must, as volunteers and elected officials, comply with 91A. It's vital in this day and age. And
You want to phrase that as a question?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to phrase that as a question?
That I'm looking for 3 things.
Okay,
And I just told you what the 3 things were. And then I will make my decision after everybody has spoken.
okay.
You made it. Welcome.
Mr. Lightford, do you have a question?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Hearing none. Mr. Paray, ask you the same 3?
I can probably sum it up pretty easy.
Please
As
do.
far as Experience and cooperation and compliance would figure. I've been a resident and a homeowner for 40 years in this town. We've run a business 35 years in this town and also own the commercial building that it operate out of. And I was a town trustee for over 20 years. This job that is being advertised is a volunteer position. Basically, two things come into effect. First of all, is that people don't quite understand the position of what a trustee is or does. It's not a committee. It's not an association. It has no allegiance to anything other than the trust fund and the taxpayers that put money into capital expenditures so they can reach for it when they have an emergency, a need, or they have saved for a project or a piece of equipment. The library involvement a library trustee is involved in the daily operation and the monies of the library. A trustee of the Scribner or a town trustee has no obligation, duty, or fiduciary responsibility to that organization. There should be no trustee involved in any town business on a daily basis because that's not the job. The trustee's job is to mandate and secure funds that are given by the treasurer of the town to the trustees to be held for when the select board asks for those funds to be used. It's not an investment fund. It's not made to be a long-term investment. It's made to be held as a savings account for when the town select or the taxpayers have a need, wish, or a want. The town trustees, as they existed, the Scribner Trust has existed for over 82 years. I'm very proud to say that I've been there 20 of those 82. So a quarter of its life expectancy. I'm sure Emma would be proud that it's still in her name and still operating as a civic center, the Scribner Center. I've been involved with two terrific events of this town. We'll go back to 1999 when the town was broke. I would like to remind the board at that time, there would be no Scribner Trust had the Scribner trustees and town trustees not refused to turn over those funds to the town manager at that time. We also secured back some monies that were taken from the Ashland Memorial Park Fund at that time. The committee is not a problem-solving organization. It's a trustee organization. Funds are to be mandated by law where they can be put, what they can be invested in. Simple math will tell you that the fund is there solely for the purpose of supporting the building and the grounds of the Scribner Center. It has no affiliation, responsibility, or influx to any of the funding that is needed to mandate, as mandated by state law, the town library. Two entirely different separate entities. One's a service organization that serves the town. One's a trust organization that watches the money. Anybody have any questions for me?
Mr. Silly?
Thank you for your comment, Rick. Very well put.
Mr. Wolf?
None.
Ms. Newton?
None.
Mr. Lightford?
No.
Thank you, Rick, for the way you answer things.
I'd just like to add one comment. It's very important at this time with everything that's going on within our own town, within the nation, that this doesn't turn, that people understand when they're elected to town positions, whether it be a volunteer or a select person or whomever, that the duty is to fulfill the job and not make it personal momentum to gain or achieve anything that would be a sole responsibility or focus. I thank everybody for what they do on a daily basis, because quite honestly, the town wouldn't run as well as it did if it wasn't for the people that are here, that are vested, that care, that do on a daily basis.
Thank you, Rick. We now have Dick Ogden has joined us.
Why don't we vote for the one-year position and then move?
Why don't we listen to everybody first?
Well, I'll make a motion that we vote on the one-year position and then move on to the second-year position.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
So,
Do I hear any discussion?
I don't think we should get confused by conversations having to do with the 2-year position when we're deciding
Okay,
between for the 1-year
fine.
position.
I agree with, they're two separate positions,
Okay,
wise, let's keep them.
there's a motion, discussion. Alan, do you have anything?
Yes, a point of information. These positions technically still open for application.
We discussed that
yes.
we were going to act on these as of this meeting. That's an agenda item. You didn't make any comment the last meeting.
No. Clarification.
Did you read the application?
Mr. Lyford, do you have any comments?
I don't have any comment.
In this case, it's going to be by roll call vote. Let me see, we have 2 nominees.
Well, the motion is to decide if we're going to vote on these 2 first
Yeah.
before moving on.
In regards to Mr., I'll back up just a minute. In regards to Mr. Silly's comment, we did announce, I do believe that we announced that we were going to at least interview the candidates for this position. It would be up to you, the rest of the board, to decide whether we are going to appoint the person tonight. So
Is there any time limit? I know one position doesn't expire until the end of April. What about the 1-year position? Is that the one that expires at the end of April, or is that the 2-year position?
they both expire.
Okay.
Well, the 1-year position has another year to go.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
Oh,
The
because
1
the
year-
member is on.
So the 1-year position, I feel, could be voted on tonight, and that person would assume that position.
Right.
Since Ms. Loud resigned the. Is that what the,
you're correct.
That makes sense. The position is now empty, so there's no reason not to fill it.
not to fill that position tonight?
Mhm.
Now, where are we in the, are we going to,
The motion on the floor is to vote for,
vote on,
1 year.
is to vote on whether we vote on this or not? So it's a roll call. Mr. Silly,
Yes.
Ms. DeWolf,
Aye.
Ms. Newton,
Yes,
Mr. Sharps, excuse me, Mr. Lyford,
Yes.
Mr. Badger says yes, we'll vote on the position tonight. It has to, so We have two candidates. We will vote on them one at a time.
Do you want a nomination?
That's the second part of this, is that I'd like to hear a nomination.
I'd like to nominate Susan McLeod for the one-year position.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we will have a roll call vote on that. Mr. Silly,
On the nomination,
on the nomination.
yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Ms. Newton,
Yes.
Mr. Lyford,
Yes.
Mr. Badger says yes. So that's done. Now,
So to make a motion.
in regard to Mr. Perret, are there any nominations for Mr. Perret?
Wait.
No, we,
No, we have 5 votes with
it's
it.
unanimous, so
That was just for the nomination.
That's right.
Oh.
wait a minute.
That was,
I don't think this is a two-step process. I nominated Susan to fill the position. It was seconded and voted on 5-0.
Yes.
okay, then I was in error, and I apologize. And that case,
But don't you want to interview Dick Ogden?
That's the second part.
Well, so you never asked him the
Well,
position he wanted.
Well, because he wasn't on the phone.
okay, I will ask you right now, Dick, whether you wanted to be considered for the 1-year position or for the 2-year position.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
1 or 2?
He's on mute, and I'm trying to unmute him.
Did he unmute himself?
I think, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. You've already selected somebody for the 1 year, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's taken care of. So now you're talking about the 2-year post, is that
Yes.
correct?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
But the question was, are you interested in the 1 year, Dick? Or the 2 year?
Well, I have no choice. It's got to be the 2 year. You've taken care of the 1 year.
Well, they asked the applicants before you arrived.
So the answer is yes for 2 years.
Okay.
All right.
Now, let's interview the 2-year candidates. Did we take a vote? This is still trying to work out how electronic
Okay,
this is.
Eli, I recorded Fran's motion was to nominate to appoint Susan McLeod. Is that
Yes.
what you got, David?
Yeah, but I know it's everybody.
Okay. Then
Now,
That's why I hesitated.
now,
I didn't hear the second part of it.
yes.
And
Now,
I second it.
Alan was
Yes.
confused. I don't know if you want to re-vote for that confusion or.
I wasn't
What-
confused.
what do you-
To nominate more than one person.
Okay, so he's saying we can,
But you can only vote once. Because it's one position.
yeah.
That's,
So you nominate somebody, the vote was unanimous.
that's totally wrong.
I would guess that, Eli, you should have asked for were there any other nominations before we voted? That did not happen. If you want to ask if there are any other nominations, and if there is a nomination and a second, then we will vote on both nominations. We can only vote for one
I
person.
would like to do this properly. So at this point, I would ask that we need a motion to put aside the last motion.
No, what we need to do is put aside the last vote. We need to
Put
ask
aside the last
any other
vote, yes.
nominations.
Yes, we need to put it, need a motion to put aside the last vote.
Mhm.
Do I hear that? Do I hear a motion to put aside the last vote?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Hearing no second. The motion is null and void.
So the vote stands.
The vote stands.
Other than the fact that there's a written recommendation from a town trustee.
You don't have voting privileges at this. Well,
Okay.
the BOS appointment.
So at this point, seeing that Ms. McLeod was nominated and approved. She is now the one-year replacement.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Silly.
I would like to, if I could, change my vote
Mm,
for the record.
Yeah.
Seeing that
I,
it's gonna go.
I don't think that that's possible, but it
No,
will be noted in the minutes.
Yeah. it's no problem.
Okay. Moving on. We have two candidates for the two-year position, Lisa Rollins and Dick Ogden. Which would like to go first?
Makes no difference to me. Whoever wants to talk first, that's fine.
Go ahead, Dick.
Okay. Anyway, we're going for the two-year position, is that
We're
correct?
going for the two-year position.
Okay. Well, there's a lot that could be said, but I think we can kind of condense things a little bit. I've been around, as you know, for quite some time on the board, and I've been through good times and not such good times over the years. But I think the board performs a task that's pretty good, really. The only thing that we are supposed to do is to manage and maintain the property. We don't get involved with the running of the library. That's not our job and never would be. But as far as the management and the main maintenance of the building and the property, I think it's done rather well. It's an expensive proposition. Over the course of a year, we can look at roughly $10,000 a year to do that. But that's the way it is. That's at that point, that's all I want to say about that one. As far as me or my experience, most of you know who I am and how long I've been on it. And, I'm retired as a business owner. I'm retired as a military person. Not that that makes any difference, but there is some experience there. So I guess that's all I really want to say at this point.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Ogden? Mr. Silly?
None.
Mr. Wolf?
None.
Ms. Newton?
None.
Mr. Lyford?
None.
Okay. Let's move on to Ms. Rollins.
Yes, I'm here. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing on my Kindle. So it doesn't have a real good microphone. I actually went and looked for it doesn't have a good audio on it. So I went and looked for a headset, but I couldn't find one.
We can
Thinking
hear
I
you.
could
I
hear
can
better.
hear you fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sound fine.
You sound fine.
You can hear me fine, but I'm having trouble hearing all of you. That's
Mm.
probably why you can't see anything but my hair at this point, because I'm so close to the thing.
Yeah, looks
So
great.
what would you like? What do you have any questions for me? What I can't really hear
Well,
what's up.
For the public, on the application, would you speak to the 3 questions that's on the application at this point?
Certainly. So things to change or improve, and things that I could bring to the board of the Scrivener trustees.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I am interested in seeing would be better communication between the Scrivener trustees and the library trustees, and some oversight of the funds that are available. Some of the things that I could bring to this are, I am an employee of the library, as you all know. I'm a library assistant there. I also have my own business, and trying to work through this situation we're in right now is a little difficult, but managing. I've been involved with some leadership in the Rural Bend Cooperative as one of the founding members of it, and have served on many seats on that board. I have a background in accounting, and I've also sat on the Friends of the Library. I'm currently the treasurer and have been for a number of years of that. I went to college to be an accountant. I am not an accountant, but I went to school for that. And I've taken a community leadership course that spanned the it was about 6 months long. It was pretty intensive, and that was offered through ROC NH, which is Resident Owned Communities, New Hampshire. I would like to see the library, as time goes on, I would like to see the library become a space for everyone in the community to be able to use. And currently, not everyone can access that building. There are issues with funds, obviously. And I believe that with the boards, the library and the Scrivener trustees working together, not the Scrivener trustees running the library, but to perhaps make improvements to the building. The voters have put money forward to be the capital improvement. The capital improvement monies that have been put aside have, for the library, those aren't going to go, because the library was voted down, those aren't going to go towards a new building or a new space for the library. So the library and the building, the trustees, should try to work together. I don't think I have anything else at this point, really. Do you have any questions for me?
Mr. Silly, any questions?
I have no questions, but I'll just make the comment that I do believe if this appointment was made, that Ms. Rollins would have a conflict of interest.
And the conflict would be What?
that she works for the library.
And why does that make it a conflict?
Because it is. She can make decisions affecting her job.
I personally, I don't see it as a conflict, of course. I think people who are going to serve on, whether it's the Friends of the Library or the library trustees or the Scribner trustees, that I think we should have pro-library people serving. People who are interested in making it a space for all people of Ashland to be a part of.
I would say that, to Mr. Ogden's point, Mr. Perez's point, the primary job of the trustees is to manage the trust for the building. However, we cannot escape the fact that the building is currently a library. And while it doesn't have to be, it has been for many years. And therefore, we owe it to the town to do the best we can for that building, which ultimately benefits the library. The Scribner trustees work, on their own. Library employees report to their own management. And I would agree, I don't see a conflict. She's not going to be protecting her job. I would assume that this job would be protecting the funds, which you can't deny would help the library to maintain its current space. So I'm not sure that I see the conflict.
Mr. Lyford, do you have a comment? Mr. Lyford?
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Okay.
Are you a paid employee or a volunteer employee at the library?
We don't have volunteer employees. I am the library assistant.
And who's your boss, Lisa?
My boss are the library trustees. Sarah Weinberg is the library director. She is my direct supervisor.
Oh, you can come in.
You have any other
One
comments?
more question, Eli.
Sure.
I had a hard time hearing, but did you say you were also the treasurer for the library or just the employee for the library?
No, the treasurer position is a volunteer position through the Friends of the Ashland Town Library. We are a totally separate entity. We are a 501c3, and our mission is to support and help the library with things that are not normally available in the budget that we have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I do have an additional question, if I might.
Certainly.
In the past, the Scribner trustees have taken a stipend. I asked this of Ms. McLeod. I would ask the same of you. How do you feel about taking a stipend from the Scribner funds?
No, I wouldn't want any stipend for a volunteer position on a seat like that. I don't take one for the treasurer of the Friends of the Library. We have no stipends in that organization. I've sat, like I said, on other boards, and I've taken no stipends from those. Those are volunteer. They are community service. And no, I wouldn't.
Thank you.
I will ask-
My comment is the same as the first round. I was looking for, on the application, a willingness for cooperation, communication, and compliance. And there were only, out of the 4 applications, I only saw that on 2 of them.
Okay.
So was that a question, Kathleen, that about compliance or?
Yeah, cooperation, communication, and compliance, which is.
Okay, as far as compliance goes, I'm more than willing to comply with any rules that are set forth by whatever rule-making authority is there, of whoever the governing body is
Thank you.
for that particular thing. I already comply with a whole lot of rules, being the treasurer of the Friends of the Library. There's a lot of things that need to be done for accounting purposes for the IRS, and I already do those things.
Thank you.
That's my answer on compliance.
Are there any further questions or any further statements that wish to be made at this point? Hearing none?
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
I'd like to make one comment if I could.
Yes, please.
I think it's been implied at some point in time, maybe tonight, maybe before I got on here, I'm not sure, that sometimes that doesn't seem to be the transparency that maybe there should be. All our meetings always have been and are still open to the public. There's nothing secret about any of our meetings. If people don't come, choose not to come, that's their fault. But the meetings are always open to the public, and they're monthly meetings, and this should be a known fact, and they're posted. So I just wanted to make sure that that's a known fact.
Okay. Is there any other discussion that the board has? Hearing none? See if I can get myself into trouble again. We have two candidates. What are the nominations?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I will nominate Mr. Ogden for the 2-year position.
Okay, we have a nomination for Dick Ogden. Are there any further nominations?
You need a second for that one, Eli.
Oh, we need a second. I'll second that. Are there any other, is there any more discussion?
You need another nomination,
We need another nomination,
if there are any.
I
if there
nominate
are any.
Rollins.
Now,
No, let's do one at a
Yeah,
time,
you can do one, yeah.
just like we did the last
That's-
time.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
Oh, you're supposed to ask for any other nominations, and then you have a discussion.
yep.
That's the way I've always done it, but I could be wrong.
Oh, you're saying, Fran.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get it for the minutes. It's fine.
Yeah, I nominate Lisa Rollins for the 2-year.
Okay,
trustee.
so now both candidates have been,
You need a second.
need a second.
I will second it.
Jamie, did you have something to say?
Fran got it before me. I'm all set.
Okay.
Thanks.
We have the nominations. Any further discussion? Hearing none. The first Dick Ogden is, how shall we vote on Mr. Ogden? Do a roll call. It's a roll call vote. Mr. Silly,
yes,
Mr. Wolf,
Nay,
Miss Newton,
Nay.
Mr. Lyford,
Nay.
and Mr. Badger says nay. Lisa Rollins
Yes, I'm here.
No.
Roll call.
Roll
Roll
call.
call vote. Mr. Silly,
Nay.
Ms. DeWolf,
Aye.
Ms. Newton,
Aye.
Mr. Lyford,
Aye.
Mr. Badger says aye. Lisa, your appointment will begin May 1st.
Thank
I
you
would-
very much.
I would like to thank both Mr. Perret and Mr. Ogden for their service to the town. I know they have a long history, and this vote is not meant to in any way negate the tremendous service that they've put into the town. So again, thank you, and don't go away.
Yes, thank you.
I have one question about getting sworn in. Is that something I have to physically do with the town clerk, or how does that work nowadays?
Good question. Charlie?
As far as I know right now, we have a little bit of leeway on it, but we will look into that for you, Susan, and be in contact. I have to talk to the clerk, but I think we have a little bit of leeway for that.
Yeah, yeah.
If not, I'll slide it underneath the door,
door.
Susan. Return it in a week.
Okay.
Just wear a mask.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on. New business. We have the Ashland employee, and under Ashland employee compensation, we have police department hazardous pay stipend. Charlie, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, Chief Olwick received a letter from the SEIU Local 1984 to folks at home. No, the SEIU is basically the town employee unions. The SEIU requested a hazardous duty pay stipend in the amount of $2 per hour for all hours worked for the police department. They wrote out a memo. I could read the memo, Chairman, if you'd like, or...
Have we all read the memo?
Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Silly?
can read the memo. Yeah.
Yes,
Chief
I
Olwick is in the room here to
Oh, good.
questions.
Do we have questions for Chief Olwick?
I understand the basis of this. Something budgeted for. How much are you actually interacting face to face with people? The lobby's closed, correct?
Correct. We are still obviously taking all the calls on the road.
Yeah.
So we are still all the calls that need to be gone out to, which have increased. We are still encountering the public quite a bit.
Mhm.
There was no in the letter from the union rep there, from Neil. There was no time frame put on it. I would assume, just my own guess would be that they're asking for through the duration of this emergency.
Maybe
That'd just be
that's
my
what,
guess.
maybe that's what we need to know. Is it retro?
I will say that
is it-
I reached out to Neil
Mhm.
and told him that I forwarded the letter
Mhm.
to Charlie for the board, as all negotiations with the union go through the board, not through me.
Mhm.
So I was a little unclear as to why I got it to begin with.
Oh, oh,
Mhm.
okay,
So I forwarded it to him, and I told Neil that it would be in his best interest to contact Charlie
okay.
prior to tonight's meeting to clarify anything.
Did he?
I'm assuming he did.
No.
No.
And I've had no further contact. He just told me that he did receive my email back to him, acknowledging that I gave it to Charlie for the board,
That's
and I didn't get anything back.
that's unfortunate.
I would just like to say that the police have my wholehearted support, always have. I'm thrilled with the department that we have. They're the best professional. I have some concerns, financial and otherwise. Financially, my concerns are that we are A, in a default budget, and B, with other workers being furloughed, laid off, we could end up come July 1st with a significantly lower income because people can't pay their taxes. And so that concerns me that we could leave ourselves high and dry. And again, this is nothing against the police. They had my admiration for being on the front lines. A lot of people are on the front lines. As I said, my daughter is on the front line. She's not getting a raise, and that's not to say she's, not better than anybody else, but so my concern is financial. The fire department is out there on the front lines doing medical calls. I would almost rather see a bonus given at the end of this horrible period that we're going through than to automatically give a $2 an hour raise when we don't know. I hear you that the calls are going up, and I suspect that they will, but I'd rather get a report after the fact to find out just how horrible things are, and if finances permit it, to give you guys a bonus. Some of you are not going to necessarily be on the front lines. And again, I'm not a policeman. I don't know what you guys go through. I don't even want to know what you go through. But again, my concerns are financial, not only for the town, because we are not a wealthy town. We are a very poor town. Default budget, don't know what the taxes are. And Charlie, I don't think you know what kind of funding we're going to get from the state at this point. It's anybody's guess. Everything is up in the air. So I'm just a little bit concerned about that.
I think it's unfortunate that you had to deliver the news where it should have gone to the people who have to make that decision, and there's no time frame involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with Fran. I'm very, very concerned about our cash flow. We could really be hurting. I really don't know what to say. Right now, the other issue I have, if you're allowed this, other union members could expect the same also. And of course, you don't even have to answer because it's not like you drafted this, but
right.
We have a cascading effect. And if we include one, we'd have to include them all. And I really, right now, I don't know how we can handle it. Except that, you wear the safety, the gloves, the mask, everything that you possibly can to keep yourself safe. And maybe we can revisit this when times are better. Fran said.
Alan, any comment?
Yes, I do. I'm going to kind of follow what Kathleen said. I financial, what police. I feel that you cannot. I don't want to use the word single out one department. If you do it, you do it for all departments.
Well, in essence, this is what he has done.
Mm-hmm.
They have singled out one department. And I'd hate to see that we allow this come July. You might have to lay somebody off because of finances.
Mm-hmm.
The only piece that I'll add to it is that I know other departments are able to take some time off and kind of split some shifts. Given the nature of our business, we can't do that.
Yeah.
I've been looking at the schedule, trying to figure out how to only work one person shifts and still get everybody there 40 hours. And it's just not really very feasible for our line of work. So I'm still kind of playing with that, but I know that other departments, they're allowed to work from home to mitigate the likelihood of being exposed, and other departments have the ability to have things of that nature where we just can't do that. So I think that might be where this is coming from. But again, I'm speaking on behalf of something that I know.
Anything, maybe.
Let me jump in here for a second. I would just say this, I support this for the PD. And if we could do something for the fire department, to me, there's a little bit of a difference between the PD and the fire department. look, when they get a call, they're the ones running in there, right? DPW, sorry, Craig,
No, that's
and
what I was
electric.
gonna- I was gonna say.
Electric and DPW and water and sewer aren't running into the house to save the lives, that they don't know what they're walking into, right? You know, these people could be sick. Now, I admit $200 an hour might be a little bit high. If we cut that in half, you know, that's less than $1,000. Because my thought was we maybe extend something out until May 4th when the governor announces another, he extends it, maybe he doesn't, but we determine how long it would be, not the union, and not knowing, maybe we go to May 4th. And how I came up with $1, Kathleen, there's 5 police officers, that's 40 hours a week, that's $200.
So we're negotiating right now, is that what you're saying?
I'm just giving you the information, right? So you're talking not even $1,000.
Eli, can I say something?
Of course.
I think you guys don't have the exposure the police do, they do. I can tell, I'm not gonna tell you where it was, but I went on a call last Friday night with these guys. And we were in a house with 5 other people that were all doing illegal drugs. And we had no contact, but the police had lots of contact. Face to face, closer than Will and I are. So in some instances, the fire department we're cooped up in an ambulance, but sometimes these guys are cooped up in a small place wrestling with people. And that's not good. I mean, that is the blood sweating people. And I can just tell you what I saw last Friday night. And I was like, oh my God, I need to go take a bath in hand sanitizer because they're in it. They're right there touching people.
I think we all understand that.
So that's the worry they get. My guys aren't exposed to anything. So we don't need any hazardous pay. I don't think the electric guys do, or even water and sewer for that fact. But these guys, they're in it along with the fire guys.
And that was my point. I know fire isn't union, but it really is. This is singling out one entity in the town. And
yeah, I think that the fire department should be included. I would agree.
Well, they take medical calls, and that
That's right.
could be really scary. And again, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're on the front lines, and you know, I hurt for them. And if Charlie thinks that we can financially afford this, I just needed to express my concerns because the future is uncertain, and financially and otherwise, obviously.
And the police department is really, they don't have the PPE like the fire guys. We can suit up.
And is there any way we can get them PPE? I know that's.
We'll expect them to put a gown on.
Yeah.
Well, the other part too is we don't always have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I understand.
This particular one that Craig's referring to was an overdose situation, multiple people in the house. Some of them had warrants. We were tied up with those folks for 3 people for 2 or 3 hours apiece. And we're stuck in close proximity with them for that period of time, transporting them in the booking room, all that kind of nonsense.
Do you at least have N95 masks?
We have some. I'm working on getting more.
That's
I
what
hope so.
saying. This is a lesson that we need to have this stuff available.
But when we're
for the
running in, we don't
future.
always have
Yeah.
that opportunity. That's
Yeah.
Jamie, do you have anything to say?
Did we lose Jamie?
No, I'm still here. I don't have any comment.
Charlie, you'll have to make it work.
Well, I mean, I still need what you guys are comfortable with. If everyone agrees with this.
Well, I don't know. Are we given
Well, it sounds
the
like it's a
option?
negotiation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're
He's gotta get some
basically
contact with them.
they're asking for this, and to me, it was sort of from prior experience. You know, you kind of ask for the moon,
Yeah.
and
But Neil hasn't communicated with you. Do you think
No.
you should reach out to him and say that?
Response email very quickly.
The sad thing is that money doesn't lessen the risk.
No.
And I wish we could do something about
well, that's
lessening.
why
the risk.
that's why I said Fran a month.
Yeah,
Me, it was
It's starting when? when?
We start next week and end, what'd we say, May 4th?
Whatever.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
in the end, Will's gonna have to make this work in his budget.
Yeah. Okay.
And he knows,
Make the magic.
yeah,
Will can make it work in his budget.
yeah, because this is not, this is unanticipated.
Yeah.
And we do have an unanticipated article that,
Mhm.
How do you
when
think they came up with that figure?
I have no idea. I honestly,
Which
have,
I thought was kind of odd.
That was
Yeah.
the figure going around.
yeah, the figure going around.
How
He said, sounds like he's, from the wording of the letter, it was indicated that he has multiple. And
It was out there, yeah.
I don't know if that's the average or if that's the common going rate. I'm not sure. It wasn't.
So, what are we doing?
Well, I just
Is this
need,
a management
Oh.
decision? Or is it a board
I think
decision?
it has to be a board decision.
Negotiation.
From coming from me as management, it would have to be through a raise, through a PAF. And this is for union across the board. So I would say it's a board decision, not mine. I can tell you that I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to find the money for if we.
Oh, this is considered a raise? I
This?
thought this was just gonna be an add-on. There must be a term for that.
Well,
or
if I was to
something.
do it, it would have to be through a raise.
Oh.
Because that's the only way that I can give increases.
But it has to be temporary.
it would be, yeah,
That's
temporary.
yeah.
the point, is that's why I don't think I can do it.
Right. Look, if the governor releases the executive order he has on
Yeah.
May 4th, that's why, to me, Kathleen, we'll just revisit it then.
Okay,
You know, so it's,
I
it's a
agree
month.
to
The
that.
board giveth and the board taketh away.
You know, because we can't
We have laughter in the background.
we can't commit to 6, 7, 8 months.
No.
No.
And like
That's right,
Fran
this-
says, you know,
Something-
if we started to get under financial constraints, then yeah, we have to walk back.
That's, I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. How do we do this
Mhm.
and how do we stop it?
The
No.
motion would be,
Forward and back,
motion would
yeah.
be if you want it, motion would be the 2 hour or any monetary number, but I would strongly advocate until May 4th when we hear from the governor again,
$1 or $2?
you know.
What-
Is what they're asking.
$1 instead of $2?
Mhm.
Okay.
Alan, do you have an opinion about the $1 or $2?
It's not the monetary.
Mhm.
I'm still back to, if you offer it to one, it should be offered to all. You could do that, and if they wanted to refuse it, that would be up to them as far as I'm concerned. But I do believe it should be offered.
In this case, it would be the police and the fire department.
No,
No,
this is a union request.
This is a union request.
So
Right.
if Alan,
I know.
I can answer that question. So that would be difficult because right now some staff are having staggered
Work hours.
work hours, so
Yep.
they would be getting paid more when they're not responding.
We're talking about responders.
Yeah, and this is hazardous duty pay. It is not standard pay for water and sewer. And
No,
and Craig, I think
It would just be for responders to critical situations.
Do we have to draft something and send it back saying that we agree to a certain amount and it only applies to the police department as first responders? I don't know how.
Yes, it would just be, that would be the motion
Okay.
for the dollar. And I did broker a conversation with Steve Heath on something such as this. I think we need to talk a little bit more. So instead of just, you know, going for both.
Mhm.
I think right now we're only talking about police.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to, how do I want to say this? Incorporate a hazardous duty pay stipend in the amount of $1 per hour for all hours worked for the Ashland Police Department. Is that-
$1 or $2? We're going back to $1.
Charlie said that he feels that $1 can be managed.
Who said that?
Charlie,
Charlie? Okay.
Fran,
Until at least May 4th.
Until
right?
May 4th.
Yeah.
Week of May 4th.
A specific date.
Okay. I will second that.
It has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Mr. Silly?
Jamie, I have discussion.
Jamie, you're up.
I support the dollar hazardous pay. I just think that we can give this stipend if we can find in the default budget for raises for non-union employees. We should be able to find this $1 an hour stipend for the police department.
Okay. Mr. Silly?
Well, I'm just going to bring up, I mean, we were talking responders here, so the motion should be included fire department, as far as I'm concerned.
they are not union. This is a
I don't
union
care if they're
request.
union or not.
We're acting on a union request, Alan.
We can, I understand that, but we can also add to it if we would like. If my-
Charlie has been having conversations with the fire department separately from this, and I think we ought to let him continue those conversations before
No
we
comment.
this.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. DeWolf, I see your hand waving down there.
I saw that. Oh, I was thinking that's kind of an apples and orange type thing we need to keep. This is
Okay,
one item.
fine.
Fire
So we have a,
department different.
is
I have
is
no
there any,
comment.
is there any more discussion? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. I will ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Silly,
No,
Ms. DeWolf,
Aye.
Ms. Newton,
Aye.
Mr. Lyford,
Aye.
Mr. Badger says aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Charlie, do you want to get a hold of Neil or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll contact Neil.
Can I say one more thing?
I ha-
Totally
go.
unrelated.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted to inform the board that the Good Morning program that we put into place with the fire department, as of last week, it came to fruition that we had our first save, where somebody had not called in the morning. Fire department went and checked on that person after all of their efforts were not going to work out. And they found the person on the floor in pretty bad shape. He'd been there since about 4 a.m, was transported to the hospital and was okay.
That is good
Yeah.
news. Thank you.
I think to
Yeah.
relay to the board that program is clearly working.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Chief.
That with me the other day in the parking lot. So
Mhm.
I think it was the day that it had occurred. So that's,
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Moving on.
Eli,
Thank you.
while we're on this topic of COVID-19,
We were on the,
somewhat, I'm going to turn this because I had a little bit of an announcement that I'd like to make for the public.
okay,
So, and I wrote this statement earlier that, well, to the citizens of the town of Ashland, my name is Charlie Smith, your town manager. In case someone didn't know, it's been a couple weeks since our last announcement about COVID-19, and I thought I would, give this brief update. Since our last public announcement, which was March 16th, we had 17 cases in New Hampshire, with 2 of those cases here in Grafton County. As of April 5th, which was Sunday yesterday, there are now 669 confirmed cases. 41 of those are in Grafton County. 147 have recovered, but 9 people in our state have lost their life to this disease. I'd like to reiterate what most are hearing elsewhere about how to protect yourselves or themselves and your family and your loved ones. It's simple. Please stay at home. If you have to go out, only go out completely for essential items if it's necessary. If you have to go to the grocery store, for example, try to go by yourself. Wear a cloth mask. Keep a required social distance from people and wipe down the carts or surfaces that you touch. Also, continue to wash your hands, cover your cough, sneezes, avoid sharing personal items with anyone. Now, if you are showing symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever, cough, difficulty breathing, muscle aches, fatigue, please call your healthcare provider first. If these conditions become life-threatening, that's when you should call 911. But the first responders are asking that please use your best judgment when calling for emergency. When calling 911, it is asked that you let the operator know your signs and your symptoms. This way, first responders, they can prepare and take the necessary precautions to protect themselves in responding, right? Because if the first responders become ill themselves, then we cannot help the community overall. So I know everyone's heard this before, you've been hearing it for weeks, but I felt like we had to reiterate and keep everyone up to speed.
Okay,
Thanks.
moving on. Ashland Town Clerk Tax Collector, Employee Compensation.
This was Patsy had put in for her personal action form. This was her requested an annual raise. She asked for 3%. I support this one as well. I feel as though Patsy is a not quite a first responder. I take that back, but she is on the front lines in our town office. She oversees the operations of, everything. She takes in the money, right? She hands out the applications. So without that position, it would be difficult for us to maintain our general operations in the office.
So what are you asking for? You're asking for?
I'm asking, she put this in a couple weeks ago, and she's asking for her raise. I'm just saying I would support it. I support it because of the current environment that position handles and helps with our general operations.
What exactly is the raise?
She asked for 3%, which is almost a little bit under 1,500 annual.
Is that for the combined position?
Yeah, technically, I think it would be a little bit less than 1,500 because this is effective date April 1st. So the annual is 1,500.
That is for the combined position.
Yes, sir. Current rate of pay for the tax collector is $23.97. The new rate would be $24.69. I said 1,500. That's January to December, so you can take off. The hourly rate, David, is $24.69. So you take off a quarter of that. It's
How do we discuss this? She's not in front of us to ask questions. Isn't this usually handled in a non-public?
no, you can't go into
I
non-public.
disagree.
She's an elected official.
Well, that's the issue that we've been having. Sometimes she wants a non-public and other times not. And we kind of seesaw back and forth,
Right.
and it's getting, what's the word I want to use? That's why I'm not quite sure how we proceed with this.
Okay.
Yeah, this can't be non-public. It has to be public.
As an
Now-
elected official, she is not an employee. By statute, that's why I asked Charlie to send out the the publication from MA, if she didn't receive her raise during the budget process, she could have had a warrant article, which she did a few years ago. She chose not to. And we're in a default budget. And we discussed this last November. There's 3 of us still here that was on the board back in November. And I don't know how the other board members feel, but the seesawing back and forth, I'm really finding it, it bothers me. I'll put it that way. It bothers me because I'm not quite sure how we're supposed to handle this. She's not, by statute, she's not an employee. And by statute, she has no department head. And there was a way for her to get her raise, and she chose not to take that route. That's just my opinion. I think most of the board knows I like to follow statute. That's how we're supposed to be doing our business. We're not supposed to pick and choose. We follow the statute. That's what we're elected to do. To follow the rules and regulations in the Constitution of the state. Not to kind of freelance here and there. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Alan, do you have any comment?
I do. A decision has to be made one way or another here. This is an issue that keeps being put off and put off and put off.
Yes.
And we could argue the point whether it should be done in non-public or not. I think we could not really have to put a dollar amount into this. Just vote it up or down if we want to give her a raise or not. And if we, passes or fails, then we deal with the issue in another way. But
Jamie?
Settle this issue. I don't see it. I don't have a problem with voting up or down to give her a raise or not give her a raise.
Jamie? You still with us, Jamie?
I am.
Do you have any comment?
I just think that with the taxpayers voting a default budget, we're trying to scrape all this money up to give raises and don't actually know what the future of the town is with income. I think it's something that needs to be weighted on.
Well, in November, we offered her a raise. It was $1,000, which was 2/3 of what she was, of what was requested.
Those are on the longevity lines, though.
And it's on you. It would be put into the longevity line. I'm going to agree with Alan that we have to put this business to bed. We have to make a decision. It's what the fiscal amount of this is going to be that we need to, whether we give her her requested 3% or what amount of money we should give her. Charlie has said that he supports the 3%. Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Eli, can I make a motion?
That you can, sir.
Fran hasn't said anything. Do you have any
Back
thoughts?
over.
Yeah, I guess I need a little clarification. Eli, you said that in November, we offered her $1,000
Yes.
increase, and that because the default budget went through, that didn't get granted. Is
It
that-
did not get granted.
Okay. I also know that Patsy went to the budget committee to ask for more money. She made comments when we had a department head summary update that she wasn't getting enough money. So I feel in a bit that we're being pressured. I have no problem giving her what we had agreed to give her in November, even though the default budget was, is the fact now. But I feel like we're caught between a rock and a hard place. And again, this is nothing about Patsy's contribution. I value her contribution, and I do understand that she's there making the town work in a very difficult situation. I'm a little confused as to how much we should be giving her. And again, is this hazardous duty pay? Is this temporary? Or is this, just giving her the raise that we had agreed to give her in November? I think the amount is important. That's just my confusion.
Jamie?
I guess I have another question before I make a motion.
Sure.
So the only reason that the raise didn't go through was because we're in default. There wasn't a disagreement with the amount of money for the raise.
Yes, there was.
The board at that time voted for $1,000 to be put into her longevity lines. She had requested the 3%, which would have been the $1,500.
Plus the longevity.
No,
She asked for that too.
no, she only asked.
No, back in November.
Oh,
And my reasoning is probably the same as it was back then. I think that any form of raise for Mrs. Tucker should be in the longevity line.
Why in the longevity line and not the hourly rate?
The longevity was put in because Patsy is a very unique individual in that she's had this job for a very, very long time. She is an elected official. Should she retire, resign, walk out the door tomorrow, and we elect, Susie, nobody off the street who has zero experience, would we want that person to get the same amount of money that Patsy gets? Patsy is worth the money we pay her because of all of the experience, that she's put into this job. And so we, as a board, several years back, split out the longevity line with the base salary to ensure that who is ever elected in her place is not necessarily entitled to that large sum of money. So that's why it's split out.
Thank you, Fran, for clarifying that.
Okay.
You still want to make a motion, Jamie?
Not at this point.
I'll make a motion that we grant town clerk, tax collector, $500 for each longevity line for a total of $1,000.
Do I hear a second?
Question before I second it. The $1,000 that we agreed to, was that split that way, 500 each, or was that
Yes,
Okay.
it was.
all right, then I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a question for Charlie. What is the difference? $1,000, just for clarification.
well, it would be $500 less annually. So, I don't know.
No, well,
Whatever that
I think
is.
that's close enough. I mean, it is for me. I mean,
No.
I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. We'll start with Mr. Lyford today.
Aye.
Mr. Silly,
Aye.
Ms. DeWolf,
Aye.
Ms. Newton,
Aye.
Mr. Badger says aye. Motion carries.
Okay. Now, not on your new business agenda. This one requested a little bit after I posted. He was busy out there working on the street. This is Craig's capital reserve expenditure request. He is still here to answer any questions. So come on in, Craig.
Yeah, I got a question.
This is a request to shim and overlay Thompson Street, Smith Hill Road, Smith Hill and High Street, and the Depot Street sidewalks.
A question. To be completed with the Thompson Road mobilization, what the heck is that?
Well, they don't want to piecemeal it. So they'll give me that price because,
Complete project?
yes. So if we were to piecemeal it up, say,
Okay.
it would be higher. If I say we did the sidewalks first and do Thompson Street, they would charge.
What would happen, they have to,
Yeah, it's based on a single mobilization. In other
Yeah.
words, it costs them a lot of money to
Move equipment.
move equipment.
Equipment. I just didn't think of
That's-
it
yeah.
in the safety
Yeah.
I think of it as a
Yeah.
military or a convoy type thing.
Yeah.
That was the only question I
Yeah.
had, I think, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
The proposed amount is for $133,424. That amount would come from the capital reserve highway improvements. To me, basically the savings. Craig and I talked about this. We thought it would be best in order to protect the budget a little bit. Take some of the sidewalk project, I think it was, Craig, out of savings so we can protect the budget a little bit.
okay.
I mean, some of that stuff would come out of some of the highway, is what I mean.
So this is coming out of capital reserve.
Yes, yes, sir.
And just to allay people's, why are we spending over $100,000 at this time if we are concerned with the budget? Would you explain how the capital reserve works?
Yeah, capital reserve funds are voted upon by the public during town vote. The appropriation request is put into a warrant article if that's passed. Most of the time they've passed completely. That once that amount passes, by December 15th, the town, with us, the Board of Selectmen who oversees the budget, has to pay that to the trustee of the trust funds.
Okay. Of this project, is that in capital reserves already?
Yes, sir.
So it would not be in the new, it would not come out of the new taxes.
No.
Capital reserve can only be used for the project that it's
Yes.
That's right.
assigned to it. Can't use it for other projects.
We can't co-opt the money.
But unless you get it changed, and then if you get it changed, you need 2/3 vote. Like this year, we changed the buildings capital reserve that was approved to be building
And
and
grounds.
grounds.
That was just a name change, not a monetary
Yeah,
issue.
name change, but that gives you a little bit more flexibility on your expenditure capabilities.
So what is this the bottom line here?
If, no.
Wait,
Yeah.
And these are the add-ons?
Boy, that one's so small, I can't read it.
It says add alternate number 1, trimming and milling driveway joints.
Yeah, if we were to if we were to add those features,
These two features here.
he would charge me extra for that.
Okay, so
So that's just, it would, I think we can get it all done with that amount of money and still get some of those features.
so
Yeah.
you're adding this to this, and now I know people can't see what I'm doing, for this total right here.
Yeah, so I mean,
So
if,
it's all of this plus these two items.
yeah, I wouldn't go over that unless something happened in,
Okay.
Because
You're Craig,
yes.
people can see this on the website.
you're proposing spending $133,424.
That's right, yeah. And-
Bottom line.
But, well, it could, shimming, I'm gonna, if you guys remember when we did Collins Street, maybe Eli was at a meeting, but shimming is a guessing game. You don't know how much you're gonna shim, so I think I had to come back and ask for $5,000 because of Collins Street. Took a little bit more pavement to get it right. If we went over, I would have to come back and ask for that.
Would you
It went over, but they tried pretty hard.
consider, would you go over by 10%?
That was a $60,000, so pretty close, just under it, yeah.
Would you prefer a 20% override?
Oh, no,
I have some questions.
Sure.
no, they're pretty good. I've only gone over it one time, like when they did the projects last year for me,
That was one of your first big projects too, wasn't it?
yeah, but
So-
like last year, though, I didn't go over it all. They held the whole perfect.
Jamie has a question.
Actually, I have a few. I got Charlie's email, but there was no attachments to it, so I'm kind of shooting in the dark on cost and what's going on. The sidewalks that you're gonna overlay, are those being brought up to ADA standards?
Jamie, the sidewalks is Depot Street. There's currently, when the state did, yeah, they did them already. And that, we tried to do this 2 years ago. GMI never got to paving them. Last year, we took it off because I only asked for 100,000 last year, so I took it off last year to save money. But those tip downs have already been made on Depot Street. So the state did them when they paved. So and we would make it 5 foot, and we're ripping out the old sidewalk and
Okay.
leaving it. So everything would be brought up. That is the absolute worst sidewalk. It's about 3.5 feet in some areas.
You have to make it ADA.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
need to make it compliant. We would make it the compliance, and we're trying to, that's why I chose that sidewalk, because it already has the ramps on it.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and the other question was it Smith Hill and Thompson you're gonna shim and overlay?
Thompson Street, 3/10 of a mile doesn't need any shimming. The rest of it would. High Street doesn't need any shimming because it's mostly a hill. Smith Hill, I don't think it required too much, but yeah, I think they're shimming Smith Hill as well, just to get the drainage, but it's a big hill, as you're aware. So yeah, that includes three roads.
Okay.
The biggest shim's gonna be on Thompson Street, and just so everybody knows, I'm gonna take and cut a couple of sections out. I'm gonna box them out and figure out the biggest, worst parts where the roads actually deviated and stepped off. And so we're gonna take some of those areas and fix them before we're replacing a couple culverts before they do this. So we're gonna do a lot of road work before they pave it, just so I can get 5 years out of it, 5 or 6 years. And just so everybody else knows, the reason we're doing this is, number one, the road's killing our equipment. I break plow lights every year. We broke a foot on one of the plows. We bent it, catching on some of that stuff. None of it that can't be replaced or fixed, but what was I gonna say? Oh, and speaking of Charlie, the River Street bond is gonna be paid up in between 5 and 6 years. I think there was 2 of them.
Yeah.
So if we can put a Band-Aid on Thompson Street for 5 or 6 years and go out to the voters again, at that time, we're gonna try to level fund the budget. So we're not gonna have taxes go up to do Thompson Street, and maybe that'll be a selling point. Because we do have to do Thompson Street. It's got the oldest water pipes in town.
Now, you still can use the hearing plans and the DES permits are still good until the end of the year?
Well, I talked to Charlie about that and a little bit with Alan. We had never filed for any permits. We just did a PBN, permit by notification. So nothing was ever done. Now the plans, so that was the only permit we did, a notification permit.
Novus got DES permits.
Yeah, but if you look on the plans, the only thing they got was the PBN.
Okay.
That's all they did. So the plans obviously.
Craig, I got another question.
Yeah, so the plans may or may not be completed in 6 years. And Nobis may have to review them and add, maybe the DES can, some of the areas might require a retention pond where they don't now. Other than that, it's been engineered. There may be a few modifications just to bring it up to current specs 5 years from now, which none of us know where they're going to be in 5 years. It may be worse, maybe laxed. I don't know.
So, need to correct it on this. It says Thompson Road.
Thompson.
It's Thompson
Yeah.
Street. It might make a difference. Since we want our documentation
Yeah.
to be accurate for the future, that will have to be
Yeah, I can have it
corrected.
fixed.
Yeah. Jamie had a question?
Actually, a couple more. Did they give you a price to reclaim that road and then pave it? Because I think shimming it and overlaying the hill that goes down to River Street is just throwing the money in the trash.
Oh, no, that's, I did ask him about reclaiming. It's pretty expensive. I think that might be an add-on, but anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It is. It's not even worth reclaiming
It's,
that asphalt.
I don't know, we could do it.
Well, do you have a price there between reclaiming and paving and just shim and overlay?
If I reclaim it, then I gotta put 2 inches of pavement back down at least. So there's the cost in pavement,
Payment and asphalt.
you know what I mean? So
You're
that,
gonna have at least 2 inches shimming it and then overlaying it.
oh no, but what I'm gonna do is,
If you wanted to hold.
well, but I'm gonna pick the worst spots, like say where Frisch's house is, you know where that is, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna take some, like around his house and then go down the hill, probably like 500 feet. I'll box that out. So I'll remove all the pavement and we'll put some ledge back in. And they will put 2 inches there, but I won't have to pay for the reclaimer to come in. You know, so we'll do it ourselves. We'll remove the pavement ourselves. And then up the street a little ways too. I agree with you. You're right. We gotta fix the areas that are really bad or we're gonna waste the money.
I think if you have the money in the capital reserve, we need to look at reclaiming and putting 3 inches of new asphalt in there to last, because it's going to be more than 3 years or 4 years before we even do that road.
It is. You know, talking with him, he thinks it'll last if we do that. Now, I can, if you want me to have it 1,000 feet reclaimed, I can.
Well, we do get kind of tight with the capital reserves because we have about 300,000 in
What's it
there,
gonna cost?
and about half of that is earmarked for the TAP, what I call the TAP grant, the sidewalk project.
I'm sure that's not gonna happen.
We don't know if that's going to go out to
Yeah.
bid or not this year. We're still trying to get the temporary construction easement signed to go out to bid by maybe July. With everything going on, it's been tough for me to track all that down. With that being said, this year's warrant article was for 125 to go back in, but that's not till December.
So, Jamie, you don't have this paper in front of you, but And I can resend it to you. I'll send it down to your work for tomorrow so you can have it.
Okay.
If I just shim and overlay Smith Hill, $13,000 and change. If I reclaim and grade and base pave Smith Hill, it's 25,600. So that's why I didn't add it. It's 25,675 versus 13.
But you'll gain another 10 years if you do it that way.
Oh, I know, but knowing that we gotta dig Smith Hill up to put water up there, I just didn't do that. Because we have to improve the drainage and everything. Smith Hill's all engineered to go. So again,
Right.
putting a Band-Aid on it. So Smith Hill alone, I'm putting a $13,000 Band-Aid. That's it. That's cheap, pretty cheap for 5 or 6 years. And I think it'll last. It's pretty expensive. I'll send it to you.
Surprising how drainage makes a huge difference.
So they're charging me
Longevity.
$73 a ton to reclaim. And then of course they gotta fine grade it.
$73 a ton to reclaim?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the pavement. The reclaims, it's 32, yeah. So it's $3,200 to reclaim it, and then the grading's $2,400. And then the added pavement would be $20,000 of pavement. But you'll see all this tomorrow, and if you want to look at it.
And when do you need a decision made by?
Well, I want to get on the list. I'd love them to do it because Rusty's got a project that's already been approved. And I think they want to just come in and do boom, boom, his project.
Is that the parking lot?
Yes, right. So while they're here,
Part of the mobilization.
I don't know if it makes a difference.
It will.
I mean, if it's all done at one time, it's one mobilization fee. And I don't see that broken out.
I don't know. I didn't see Rusty's quote, whether they're using it together. They probably aren't, but it's something I can ask.
It's separate.
It's separate. But if they come and do it all at once, maybe we can get a break on the other end. I'll ask.
Well, it's the mobilization fee plus whatever they are laying down.
Yeah. Well, obviously it costs them money to move equipment.
And I believe Rusty said that's $80,000, Alan?
Oh, no, it's not that much.
I don't believe it's quite that much. I did not get a final figure from him.
Okay,
I believe it is probably closer to 60,000.
okay.
No,
Right.
no.
It's like 26,000.
Yeah, Rusty, yeah,
Oh, all right.
yeah.
Then the plans have been changed. Excuse me.
That's,
For Rusty's, but it doesn't matter what is this.
Now, Rusty should send us that information. So we all know
Mhm.
what the
But
cost is.
if they're doing it at once, I can ask them to cut us a break on
Sure, why not?
mobilization.
Jamie, does that answer your questions?
Yes.
So I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to, oh gosh, what's the wording?
To approve the.
Okay, motion to approve the paving estimate from GMI for Thompson Street, High Street, Smith Hill, and Depot Street sidewalk.
In the amount of
The amount of,
133 gonna do it?
I'm pretty confident, but
All right.
they've been pretty good last year. And we're not, like I said, Collins Street, we dug it up. So it was,
That amount's important.
does that have to be added to the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, the amount, just here's why, because this goes into the minutes. The minutes go to the trustees of the trust funds to certify that that was the vote.
So added to that motion is proposed amount 133, 424, take from line 01491530 Tobacco Reserve Fund Highway Road Improvement.
And I will second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Silly,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Aye.
Ms. Newton,
Aye.
Mr. Lyford,
Aye.
Mr. Badger says aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, well, now I guess.
Miss Barney has been sitting here
Yes,
patiently,
I noticed that.
and I'm wondering why she has given up a date night to be here.
Well, I just, one of the board members had asked about me paying my employees while the school is not in session. I had written an email to the board explaining why, after talking with Charlie, he and I agreed that we should do that at least through the May 4th date that the governor says. So I just wanted to be here and when it's talked about.
Ian,
Yep.
if this is extended for even a couple more weeks, how does that impact your plans for not only after school, but the summer program, the beach, or am I getting too far ahead? Do we have to take this by increments of a couple of weeks until we know when we sort of go back to what would be considered normal?
Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm working on the calendar and everything for summer camp like it's going to happen because I want to be ready if it is. The beach, the same thing. I've got lifeguards who want to be certified. Granted, right now nobody's doing that, but it is in the works to be done in that time. As far as
Yeah, you'll lose them, correct?
right, and that's what 3 of them are my after school people as well. That's why, you know, I'd like to keep the employees around who keep coming back year after year.
Oh.
And also the campground, after talking to Charlie and to the attorney, we were told that if there's a campground that is in session now, they have to stay in session, but if not, we have to go by the May 4th, or if it's extended. So I have already sent a letter to all the campground letting them know that.
Okay.
So basically,
Yeah, the campground, it was
but I
supposed to
can
open,
wait to hear.
yes, campground was supposed to open May 1st, and it's not opening May 1st.
So what's the difference between furloughed and laid off? I've seen both of these. Laid off means we no longer need you, and they can go collect unemployment. Furlough, we don't have the hours for you to work, but we want to keep you on the rolls. That understanding.
Usually, not always.
So I have no issue. I felt I knew what the plan, you know, not the plan, but what the process was. And I know you have to do extra steps. You have to have background checks and certification. So if these people are laid off, you may never see them again, and you won't have any stuff. You won't have the staff that you need.
Right, and if we do start May 4th, I'm not gonna have the time to go find other people.
Correct.
It's gonna be a quick thing and we just do it.
So if
Eli?
they would be collecting
Yes,
unemployment,
Jim.
I don't know what the dollar amount is.
I was the one that brought the question up to Charlie. I don't have an issue paying the employees till the May 4th deadline. The reason I brought the question up was come May 4th, when we're not over this virus and school stays internet learning, I don't see how the town can justify to the taxpayers paying those employees till summer camp might start. That was my issue.
And I think we're going to have to visit this on practically on a week-by-week basis. Nobody knows the future. I would like to believe that by May 4th, everything's going to be over. I do not believe it for a minute. I know I'm preparing for the worst, but at this point, I think we just, keep our eyes on what's happening and revisit it. And on May 4th, if we're not over this, then we'll have to make different decisions.
I agree with you, Fran. I think we have no choice but do this week by week. And May 4th, no, we're not going to go right back to the way things were. I think that's disingenuous to even consider that idea.
And I feel like if May 4th comes around and we're not back in school, the decision is going to be made that we are not in school for the year. And that's when we can what to do
Fine.
for the after-school
Yep.
program. And then going forward with the rest, I have to wait and see how it goes.
Thank you for coming and clarifying this, Ann. We appreciate it.
So we have Charlie and Ann's plan. I don't believe it requires a board action.
And I think it was informational.
It was information.
That's fine.
And that's what we do. We need the information to make
Yep.
informed decisions.
Absolutely. Anything else on this topic?
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie, any other new business that has just popped up?
Bye.
No, sir.
Moving on, any old business?
Yeah, I kind of have one.
I have one.
Yeah. Now, many people are here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the room. I'm gonna lock the door and not let people in. Is basically what I'll just be blunt, because we're kind of going against. The governor says stay home, only go out for emergencies. We've got this set up so people can stay at home, but we've got 5 people in the room. I know Fran doesn't agree with this.
Based on the reality, come to our meeting.
Because we're not even 6 feet.
I mean, when I went to the grocery store, I had to stand closer than that. I would have been home and locked me out of the meeting.
If you can't do it by video, then do it by audio. The phone connections work. There's really no reason for anybody but Charlie to be in that room.
There's no reason for Charlie to be in that room.
Well, there's no reason for Charlie. He can do it from home.
He can do it from home.
I know we haven't had any cases in Ashland yet, and I'd like to believe we never will. But I just really fear for what could happen. And I just don't think it's worth taking a risk when we have a legitimate, viable option. It really bothers me to see 5 people in that room. I don't want any of you to get sick or spread it around. Like I said, if you can't do video, then do audio only. We can certainly conduct business.
I did have audio.
You also had video for a while.
I had only video on my Kindle, but I had audio on my laptop, so that's why I was doing both.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why there was the feedback.
Right.
Okay, and then when Charlie could leave the meeting, I could not get back in and I couldn't access it by the phone either.
Well, you have a landline. You could have
Yeah.
called in the conference number on the landline.
But I didn't get through. Because I
Well,
had,
we'll have to work on that.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's not like we can do this beforehand.
Yeah, I know. Well, somehow, Charlie, we need to test this out because
Well,
the same thing happened last
it
week when Kathleen had to
4
come in.
times out of, what, 5 now? 2 times out of 5.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't know. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here. Since I don't have anybody to stand over my shoulder and say, try this.
Okay.
But it worked.
In this day and age, it is not wise
Well, I think,
to
Eli,
have in-person meetings.
and I think when you got kicked out is because of this whole new Zoom boom
Yes,
thing.
so it was like
So
I
when
was,
they, you know, if I, as the host, if
It's
I
like
throw you out, you can't come back
That's right.
because you're being bad.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then it said, oh, upgrades.
Yeah.
So my computer started to do upgrades.
So everyone knows who might be out there listening and watching, and the phone conference line does work. I mean, we used it last week.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's that option as well.
So,
I just wanted to get that out.
so what, you got
Fine.
feedback because I had two things going?
Could have, yeah. There was.
See, I didn't hear any feedback. But when I just tried to do it on my Kindle, all I had was video. I didn't have audio. But the same thing that Lisa had, I probably had to hold it right up to my.
Okay.
See, we have Jamie just on audio and it's worked fine.
I'll just make a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. Those options do not work for me.
Jamie, real quick, did you call in the Zoom conference phone number?
I called in the number that was in my packet and it didn't go through, so I had to go back to the email, but it worked fine. I typed in the numbers that I needed to and got right through.
But he's on the, so Zoom offers a call-in number. The one that
Yeah.
I got is just the phone one. I might not have been our
No.
hosting yet when you tried it.
Yeah. No, it's working fine.
Yeah, the one with Jamie seems to be working fine. So, okay, that's all I have, Chairman.
Okay. Any select board items?
Yes, I would like to discuss the 4th of July. I am very concerned that we are going to get past the point of no return. And again, I would love to believe that by May 5th or 4th, everything is going to be behind us. The reports I'm hearing are not that optimistic. New Hampshire is behind New York and California, New Jersey, but where our numbers are still increasing. And we need to ask those questions and get good hard answers that we either pull the plug or we have a different date for the 4th of July. I'm not married to the 4th of July. It can be the 4th of August. Let's look at options, but I do not want to get into a position where we have invested a ton of money or risking having thousands of people come to watch some fireworks only to find out that we're still in the midst of this crisis. So the time is now to ask that question and to get some real hard answers. They've pulled the plug on the Olympics. They've pulled the plug on Wimbledon. They've pulled the plug on the Final Four. They pulled the plug on all kinds of things that are much bigger than the 4th of July. And we owe it to our community to figure this out and figure it out now.
So, Fran, I'm going to pull Will in on this one. Come on,
Okay.
because I had concerns too, and I asked Will how much time frame he needs, because in PD needs, you have to get a permit approved from the state, right?
Yep.
A month for the parade. PD needs a month, and he has to get the word out for details, which I think you told me was 6 weeks.
I need between like 4 to 6
I
weeks.
didn't
to
know.
post it.
So if that helps you guys, give you a little bit of a time frame there. We're really getting up against the clock.
That's just one aspect of it. We've got that. We've got all of the vendors and the fireworks and everything else that, you know, we're putting out contracts. We need some hard answers.
Over here, David Wool, I can maybe speak.
And I don't really deal with the contract, but we were told at the last meeting that the fireworks is 30 days notice. So we're really talking June still, early June.
Well, let's just make sure we don't get into a situation where we're either wasted money or risking.
Okay, I'll put it out there. I'm in favor of postponing it until we know
Well,
how the situation is, and it'd be up to the 4th of July committee to choose a date or approach Atlas for a refund.
I would think that we would like to talk to the 4th of July committee.
We should, but ultimately there's still a town committee and it's a board.
That's right.
Right.
It's ultimately, it is our decision,
Yes,
but I feel this discussion should also include that committee.
well, logistically, I don't know how much time we have to do this.
We could do it at our next meeting.
Again, we have a possibility at least of looking at another date.
Yep.
July is much too close for my comfort. And I would rather see us move this to have a town celebration for the end of COVID and, our Independence Day, rather than risking making this too close for comfort. That's just my opinion.
Jimmy?
It's David. David's trying to ask something.
Okay.
He has started,
Speak up, David.
but we haven't really come to a particular date yet, where we might postpone it. And that does take negotiation with fireworks and the other people involved. But the fireworks people are going to be flexible this year because otherwise their business if they aren't flexible. So I think there's a good chance of finding a new date without much trouble. But we haven't really done all that work yet. And Kendall is actually, and other people on the committee are actually more familiar with contracts than I am and how the vendors are responding and like that.
Well, you might have to move up or maybe have multiple meetings, because we have to make this decision by May 4th, I would say.
Well, and we need information from them about all of their vendors and the fireworks and everything else that, we have some flexibility, or we can get out of contracts.
I would say you have long.
Can we invite the,
Now, Jamie?
can we invite the 4th of July committee to get on the phone for our next meeting so we can have a little more discussion and then set a cancellation or go ahead date by like the 18th of May?
Yes, Jamie, I wrote that down. I'll reach out to Kendall and the members on that committee. We can get them on the agenda for next meeting. Fair enough?
That's what I.
Yes, thank you.
Alan? Anything?
That's good with me.
Okay. Anything else?
I have some old business.
Okay.
I'd like to see if Charlie can contact the AG's office in reference to Tracy being the assistant of her mother in a town position and see what their stance is on it.
Sure.
Charlie's answered sure, he'll try. Anything else?
Thank you. That's all.
Is there anything else? Going once, going twice. I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second it.
Meeting adjourned at 7:45.